I moved to the Reservoir a few weeks ago. I'm Lucas, 35, a park ranger. I thought this quiet place would help me escape the craziness of city life. The woods were thick, and the cracked path led down to the water. My cabin was rustic but cozy. I hoped to finally relax and find some peace. After unpacking, I settled in. Everything felt still, almost too quiet. I sat on the porch, watching the sunset. It was beautiful. But when night fell, I heard something strange. Distant laughter echoed over the water. I figured it was kids from a campsite nearby, but the place had been empty all day. My heart raced. Each night after that, I heard the laughter. It got louder, almost playful. I tried to dismiss it as my imagination, but it felt real. It sounded like children, laughing and having fun. But where were they? I stepped outside, hoping to catch a glimpse, but the woods only stared back at me in silence. One morning, I found toys near the water, a small red truck and a doll. They were worn, like they had sat there for years. I felt something cold in my gut. It didn't sit right with me. I picked them up and glanced around. There was no sign of anyone. As days passed, I noticed small footprints in the sand by the water. They seemed to appear out of nowhere. They were child-sized, leading into the woods. I felt uneasy. I wanted to find out more, but fear held me back. I replayed the laughter in my mind. Where were those kids? It drove me nuts. One evening, I looked into the water. My reflection was hazy at first. Then I saw flashes of faces, kids smiling and playing. I blinked, and they disappeared. I felt a chill run through me. Was I losing my mind? The laughter danced around my thoughts, refusing to leave. Then came the night that changed everything. It was quiet. I was trying to sleep when a soft voice called out, "Will you play with us?" My breath hitched. I whipped around, searching for the source. No one was there. The air felt heavy with laughter, echoing in the darkness. I stepped off the porch and called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" Nothing answered. My heart raced. I felt a knot twist in my stomach. I tried to shake it off, but the laughter continued. I stood frozen, listening, wondering if it was a cruel joke or something worse. Days turned into a blur. I couldn't shake the feeling. Each night the laughter returned, pulling me into the depths of fear. I became paranoid, feeling eyes watching me from the trees. I realized then that something was very wrong. My peace had been stolen, replaced by whispers and echoes, leading me deeper into an unknown horror. What happened that night stays with me. I can't explain it. I've never been the same since. All I know is that the laughter still echoes in my mind, and it haunts me every time I walk by the reservoir. The next day, I woke up later than usual. My sleep had been restless, filled with dreams of laughter that echoed like a taunt. The morning light sliced through the trees, illuminating patches of the cabin. I stumbled out of bed, feeling like I had missed something important. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Instead of checking the usual spots, I decided to venture deeper into the woods. I needed to face whatever was haunting me. I grabbed my backpack with a flashlight and some snacks, determined to find the source of the voices. The path felt foreign, twisting and turning, each bend revealing more of my growing dread. As I walked, I kept my eyes peeled for any sign of the children. I didn't want to confront them, but I felt a need to understand what was happening. Was it all in my head? Or was there something else lurking in the shadows? The laughter, once distant, felt like it clung to me, guiding my steps. After wandering for a while, I stumbled upon a clearing. It was small, filled with wildflowers and trees that seemed to lean in as if they were listening. In the center, I noticed something strange, a pile of old, moss-covered rocks. They looked intentionally stacked. I approached cautiously, feeling a mix of curiosity and fear. Something in my gut told me this was important. I knelt down to examine the rocks. As my hand brushed against them, I felt a chill run down my spine. Hidden beneath one was a small, worn-out diary. I picked it up, its cover faded and edges frayed. I flipped through it, the pages yellowed and brittle. The entries were written in a child's hand. "Today, we played by the water," one entry read. "The man with the funny hat said we should come here." My heart skipped a beat. "We can't leave the area after dark. It's not safe." I felt bile rise in my throat. What did that mean? I kept reading. Stories of laughter, playing hide and seek, all linked to the reservoir. But then the entries turned darker. The laughter changed. It became angry. "We have to be quiet, or he'll find us." Whoever he was, it sounded ominous. My hands trembled as I closed the diary, knowing I had uncovered something grim. I looked around the clearing, my heart racing. The laughter suddenly echoed again, louder, closer. Panic set in. I jumped to my feet, scanning the tree line. It felt alive, almost mocking me. My breathing quickened. That's when I saw it, a shadow flitting between the trees. It moved so fast, barely visible. I felt the urge to run, but my feet stayed rooted. The laughter crescendoed all around, enveloping me. I turned to flee, adrenaline pumping through my veins. But as I did, I glimpsed a flash of a small figure, standing at the edge of the clearing. A child, smiling wide. I squinted, heart pounding, and heard the whisper again. "Will you play with us?" Before I could answer, everything went dark. When the darkness wrapped around me, I felt a jolt of cold air rush over my skin. It was as if the world had pressed a pause button. My heart pounded in my ears, but there was no laughter now, just the sound of my breath. I spun in place, trying to grasp on to something, anything that would make sense of what was happening. Suddenly, a flicker of light broke through the black. I squinted against it, feeling disoriented. As my eyes adjusted, I found myself back in the clearing, but it looked different. The wildflowers had wilted, and the trees seemed twisted, their branches stretching unnaturally. It felt wrong. The light pulsed softly, revealing a small lantern hanging from one of the branches, swinging gently despite the stillness. I approached the lantern, my instincts screaming at me to run, but curiosity kept me rooted. A soft glow surrounded it, illuminating the ground and catching my attention. Scattered around were small toys, wooden cars, dolls with missing limbs, and marbles. Each one felt like a memory trapped in the air, waiting to be found. A chill crept down my spine. These toys belonged to children, but where were they now? I knelt, fingers brushing against the rough wood of a car. As I picked it up, a faint whisper echoed in the wind. "Come play with us. Don't be scared." It was the same voice. All of my instincts were telling me to leave, to escape whatever trap this was. I looked around, expecting to see the figure again, but I was alone. The lantern's glow flickered, and for a moment I thought I saw shadows darting between the trees. I gripped the car tighter, fighting the urge to fling it away. "What do you want from me?" I called out, my voice trembling. Silence. Then I heard it. The laughter, but this time it sounded twisted. It didn't feel innocent. Panic surged through me, but I forced myself to move. I would not become a part of whatever this was. I glanced back at the lantern, then at the path leading out of the clearing. I chose the path. As I turned, my foot snagged on a root, and I stumbled. The laughter crescendoed again, echoing from all directions. Something shifted behind me, a rush of movement that made my skin crawl. I scrambled to my feet, running blindly, the feeling of being pursued digging at my heels. That's when I collided with something solid yet intangible, a wall of darkness that stopped me in my tracks. I gasped and turned to retrace my steps, but the clearing was gone. A thick fog rolled in, swallowing everything. I was ensnared again. I steeled my resolve, heart pounding. "I won't be afraid," I shouted into the void, feeling foolish as the words echoed back to me. But I couldn't show weakness. Then a voice, softer now, floated through the fog. "Help us." I squinted into the thick mist, trying to find the source. The voice was so close, yet so far. "How?" I yelled, desperation creeping into my voice. A figure appeared through the haze, just a blur at first. My breath caught when I realized the outline was a child. They extended a hand towards me, and I felt an inexplicable pull, a connection. But just as quickly, they vanished, swallowed back into the layers of fog. I was shaken. I couldn't stay here. I had to find a way out. The whispers picked up again, each one a plea, each note a thread weaving through my thoughts. I had stumbled into something far more complicated than I had imagined. Then, from within the fog, a familiar laugh broke through. I froze. I knew that laugh. I had heard it before. The pieces started to fall into place, but my heart raced all the same. There was something in my past tied to this, something I needed to confront. With each step I took deeper into the fog, the darkness began to coalesce, revealing shapes, memories dancing around me. Someone already knew I was here. I had to know who. The fog thickened around me, wrapping tighter as I moved forward. My heart raced, echoing against the silence that pressed in from all sides. I wasn't alone. I could feel it. The laughter I had heard was closer now, sharper, as if it was being shaped by the mist itself. I took another shaky step, urgency propelling me forward. "Who's there?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. The laughter faded, replaced by more whispers, this time indistinct, layered over each other. "Find us," they urged. "You have to remember." I stumbled again, this time catching myself on something cold and smooth. I reached out to touch it, heart pounding, expecting the worst. My fingers brushed against the surface, and suddenly the fog shifted, revealing a large rock jutting out of the ground. It had carvings, scratched letters and drawings. I knelt down, squinting to make sense of it. As the fog swirled away, the light from the lantern flickered, illuminating the words, "We were here." A knot twisted in my stomach. This felt personal, like a message lost but begging to be found. I hesitated, but pressed on, fighting the urge to flee. My childhood memories flickered in my mind. The voices were growing clearer. One in particular, it felt familiar, could almost place it. "Help us," came the whisper again, this time filled with a sense of urgency. My pulse quickened. "Who needs help?" I shouted, hoping to break through the haze of the fog. No answer came, just silence filled with the echoes of children's laughter. It felt like I was being pulled apart at the seams, every layer of my past rushing back to me. I couldn't ignore it any longer. Whatever was happening here was connected to me. I felt as though I had stumbled into a dream where long-buried memories threatened to drown me. I searched through the swirling mist for any sign of the child, and then, amidst the shadows darting around me, I spotted the blurry outline again. "Wait, please don't go!" I reached out, desperation leaking into my voice, realization striking me like a bolt of lightning. This child, they looked like me, or at least they could have. My breath hitched. "I remember." The figure paused, hovering just out of reach. "You have to see," it murmured, before darting into the depths of the fog. I felt the ground shift beneath me, my instincts screaming to follow. Panic clashed with determination. I had to know what lay ahead. With every step I took, more shapes emerged, familiar faces, moments from my past entwined in the ghostly mist. The laughter morphed into cries, shadows blurring into chaos. I felt engulfed, the weight of their spirits pressing in, demanding to be acknowledged. Then, suddenly, the fog parted once again, revealing not just more memories, but a sloshing reservoir shimmering dimly in the night. I was both drawn in and repulsed. This was where it had happened. I took a deep breath, bracing myself, knowing that whatever awaited me was a confrontation with the truth I had long avoided. That's when I noticed movement on the water's edge, the same child from before, their hand raised as if beckoning me closer. A cry built up within me, a primal bid for understanding. But just as I steeled myself to take that final step into the memory, a shadow loomed over me, fierce and looming. I spun around. Someone else was here, and they were not welcoming. I felt my stomach drop as I turned to face the shadow. A figure stood there, just beyond the reach of my lantern's glow. Tall, with an indistinct shape that made my skin crawl. It felt like the air around us shifted, charged with an energy I could hardly identify. My breath caught, and I fought to suppress the instinct to run. "Who are you?" I tried to sound brave, but my voice trembled. The figure didn't respond. It just watched me. I squinted, trying to discern its features, but the fog swirled between us like a living thing. Then, before I could think, I blurted out, "Are you the one who's been whispering?" The shadow seemed to stiffen, and for a moment I thought I imagined it. But then it took a step forward, the mist sliding off it like a shroud. Fear gripped me, but I stood my ground. "Help the children," it said, its voice gravelly and distant. I couldn't tell if it was male or female, or if it was even human. "Find the stories. Remember them." "What stories?" I nearly shouted, frustration leaking into my voice. "What happened to the children?" The figure's outline wavered, sparking memories that felt like quicksand beneath me. Images of laughter turned into cries, the reservoir becoming a whirlpool of forgotten faces and lost moments. I wanted to retreat, to anchor myself to something solid, but all I could do was stare. "Join us," the figure urged, and I noticed its hand extended, an invitation or a curse. Shadows circled around it, twisting into unspeakable shapes. "Who are you?" I demanded, hoping to find clarity in the chaos. "Why do you want me to remember?" But the figure only shook its head slowly, a mournful gesture. "You must." As it spoke, I suddenly felt the pull of the water behind me. The surface shimmered, reflecting flickers of light that looked almost like the faces of children. My heart raced, an inappropriate thrill coursing through me. I was torn. Before I could react, the figure lunged forward. I stumbled backward, losing my balance for a split second. I was falling into the glowing reservoir it had conjured. My arms flailed, and I fought against the gravity of the memories grappling at my feet. In that moment, something in me shifted. I finally recognized the familiar faces, friends I had lost touch with, moments I wished I could relive. But why here? Why now? Desperation surged through me as I glanced back at the figure. "You've got to help me!" I shouted through gritted teeth, the reservoir edges biting into my ankles. "What happened?" It paused, the shadows it commanded swirling as if considering my plea. "We are here, the lost." In that second, the reservoir released a flood of memories that washed over me, and I caught a glimpse of what lay beneath the surface. Vague images quickly formed into clarity. I was close, so close. But then, as swiftly as they appeared, they dissipated into the fog. Then, everything went dark. I gasped, as if surfacing from deep underwater. Cold air filled my lungs, but the darkness still enveloped me. I blinked, trying to adjust to the dimness. My lantern flickered beside me, casting uncertain shadows that danced against a wall of thick mist. I was back at the edge of the reservoir, But everything felt different, heavier, as if the very essence of the air had changed. Panic set in when I realized I was alone. The figure was gone. "Hello?" My voice broke the silence, swallowed almost immediately by the fog. No response, just the soft lapping of water against the shore. I shuddered, reeling from our encounter. Why had it chosen me? What stories did it want me to remember? I staggered backward, my heart still pounding. With each step away from the water, the fog began to part, revealing tufts of grass and an old wooden bench nearby. I hesitated before sitting down. This place had once been vibrant, a refuge for the children who used to play here. Now it felt like a graveyard for memories. I squinted across the surface of the water, straining to catch a glimpse of anything, really. The lantern illuminated just enough for me to see distorted reflections, shadows of what had been. "Help the children," I whispered to myself. It echoed back, mocking me. What children? What happened? As if in answer, a faint sound came from behind me. Whispers. I could barely make out the words, but they were there, swirling just beyond the reservoir's edge. I turned, bracing myself for another confrontation. But no one stood there. Just the empty path winding back into the trees. Were they the children? I clenched my fists. "Show yourselves," I shouted, my voice shaky but firm. The whispers grew more distinct, swirling around me like a breeze filled with secrets. A chill ran down my spine. Then I saw it. Somewhere behind the murky water, shadows began to gather, forming shapes of small figures. Fear surged through me, but I stepped closer. I had to understand what was happening. "Can you hear me?" I ventured, not sure what I was expecting. The faint whispers coalesced into giggles, childlike and eerily innocent. I knelt by the water, peering into the depths. The water was clear now, revealing glimpses of children playing, smiles, laughter, before plunging again into darkness. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted movement, not from the water, but within the trees lining the reservoir. A flash of white fluttered, a piece of paper perhaps. Curiosity pulled me in that direction, over the grass and toward the path. What led me was a sinking feeling in my chest, an echo of the children's laughter entwining with dread. That's when I saw it, a paper, crumpled and damp, half buried in the mud. I picked it up, hands shaking. The moment I unfolded it, I recognized the drawing. It was a picture of the reservoir, but in the background, dark shapes loomed, shadows cast across bright, smiling faces of children. And beneath it, words scrawled in a shaky hand, "Help us remember." Questions piled into my mind. Who had drawn this? Was it a warning or a cry for help? Before I had the chance to process what it meant, a cold wind swept through, sending chills across my arms. I looked up, and the laughter faded, replaced by silence. Suddenly, I felt as if I was being watched, not just by the shadows, but by something else, something lurking just beyond the trees. Then I heard a low growl, primal and threatening. My heart raced, instinct screaming at me to run. Someone was out there, and whatever it wasn't friendly. I spun around, adrenaline pumping through my veins. The growl echoed again, closer this time. It wasn't just the shadows playing tricks on me. I could feel a presence, heavy and menacing. I glanced back toward the water, the lantern's light barely holding the darkness at bay. "Who's there?" I called out, trying to sound braver than I felt. My voice dropped to a whisper when I heard a rustle in the brush. It was followed by a soft giggle, the same innocent sound I'd heard a moment before. But this time, it felt tainted, twisted into mockery. I took a cautious step back, my foot slipping on the damp ground. I lost my balance briefly, but caught myself before crashing to the earth. The murmurs turned into shouts, distant and centralized in my mind, urging me to turn away from the path. They were desperate whispers, somehow more alive now, echoing with emotion I couldn't grasp. Help us, they chorused, growing louder. I clamped my hands over my ears, but the sound sliced through. Show yourselves, I screamed again. I had to know what was happening. Just then, something broke through the trees. A burst of white appeared, darting toward me. It was a small figure, a child. My heart leapt into my throat. Wait, I called out, but the child didn't stop. Instead, they turned, running deeper into the woods. The giggles, now full of joy, mingled with an unsettling echo. Against my better judgment, I chased after them. Maybe they could tell me what was going on. Each step felt heavy, like running through quicksand. I could barely keep up, branches clawing at my arms and face as I navigated through the dense underbrush. "Stop!" I cried out, but the child dashed further ahead. The distance between us grew, the laughter entwined with the rusting leaves around me. The growl followed, looming like a thundercloud, making my skin prickle. In that moment of fear, I stumbled into a clearing. I blinked, disoriented. The fog had thickened, swirling in on itself like a living thing. The child had vanished, but at the center of the clearing stood something that froze me in place. A black figure, tall and ominous, backlit by the swirling mist. It was there, watching me with eyes that seemed to burn through the fog. "Help us!" the voice came from the figure, a blend of childlike pleading and some otherworldly force. My breath caught in my throat. This was not just a voice, it was a summons, calling to something deep inside me. I turned to run, but the atmosphere shifted. The ground beneath me felt unstable, like the memories and whispers were rising up to stop me. I heard another growl, roaring from somewhere behind me. Fear gripped my heart with icy fingers as I pushed forward, stumbling through the fog, desperate for escape. But then I heard it. "Remember us." It rang out, clear now, drowning out all distractions. Everything went dim. The lantern flickered wildly, then extinguished completely. I stood in the unyielding darkness, the hairs on my neck rising as I sensed something moving close beside me. It was now or never. I had to find a way out. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and stepped forward into the unknown. I opened my eyes, expecting some light, something to guide me, but there was only darkness. Blindly, I shuffled forward, 1 foot at a time, feeling the cold earth beneath me. Each step seemed to echo with the whispers swirling around me like a storm. "Help us!" The voice lingered, a gentle caress and a warning all at once. I didn't know who was asking for help, but something in me felt a pull. I pressed on, driven by a mix of fear and an inexplicable need to understand. Suddenly, I bumped into something. My heart raced as I reached out, running my fingers along what felt like stone. I was in the middle of the clearing, but the fog layered around me like a hungry beast. I took a deep breath and steadied myself, determined to regain control over this terrifying situation. That's when I felt it again, a chill brushing against my skin. Not just cold, but a creeping sensation of dread, as if the shadows themselves were alive. My instinct screamed for me to get away. "What do you want?" I shouted into the darkness, hoping the answer would ground me. Then I heard it, a soft chorus reverberating through the air. "Find us." My pulse quickened. "Find who?" I yelled. No one replied, but I felt the pressure of unseen eyes locking onto me. I turned in circles, disoriented, trying to locate the source. Movement caught my attention. I stepped back, almost tripping over roots twisting up from the ground. A figure emerged from the haze. It looked small, almost childlike, but there was an aura of something much older. An ancient sadness wrapped around it. "Please," the figure trembled. It wasn't the voice I heard before. This one was softer, more fragile. "They need you." "Who needs me?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. The figure gestured to the fog. As if prompted, swirling shapes coalesced around us, forming silhouettes of children with hollow eyes. Their faces were twisted in silent cries, yearning but lost. I took one step back, shaking my head. I don't know how to help." Panic wrapped around my heart like a vice. I wanted to bolt, but felt frozen, unable to look away from their pleading gazes. "Remember," the small figure urged, its voice trembling. "You must remember. It's the only way." Cold realization washed over me, something lurking at the edge of my memory. Images flickered, past moments filled with laughter, light, and warmth, now tangled with sorrow. But what did I need to recall? As I fought against the swell of emotions, my surroundings shifted again. The fog cleared momentarily, revealing a small, decrepit cottage standing at the tree line. It looked familiar, a place I knew but hadn't seen in years. The glow of lanterns spilled from cracked windows, and I felt a strong pull toward it. "Come back," the figures cried, their voices overlapping into an urgent hymn. I glanced back at them, then toward the cottage. Time felt like it was slipping away. The ground beneath me trembled, and the whispers turned frantic. "Run! Find the truth before it's too late!" That was my cue. I sprinted toward the cottage, heart racing. But as I reached for the doorknob, the ground shook violently beneath me. Then everything went black again. I was lost, but this time the whisper grew clearer. "Remember us." I reached out blindly, hoping to grasp something tangible in the endless darkness. I jolted awake, gasping for air, my hands clawing at the cold ground. The darkness pressed around me, thick and suffocating. Where was I now? The clearing was gone, replaced by the musty scent of decay and damp wood. Panic surged through me. I sat up, my heart thudding. There was no more whispering, only silence. I strained to hear something, anything, but everything was still. Glancing around, I noticed that I was inside the cottage I had seen. The panels of the walls were warped, peeling paint revealing layers of history. I stood up, my legs a little shaky, and took a hesitant step forward. The flickering shadows cast by the lanterns were alive, darting along the walls as if they had a mind of their own. I needed to find a way out, but another part of me felt drawn to explore. Where had the figures gone? What did I need to remember? I stumbled through the small room, trying to focus. The air was suffused with an overwhelming sense of loss and despair, and my gut twisted with it. That's when I saw it, a small table in the corner, draped with a dusty cloth. My breath caught as I approached. What was hidden beneath? As I pulled the cloth away, memories flooded back like a rushing tide. Framed photographs, pictures of smiling children with bright eyes, laughing and playing together. My heart sank as I recognized them. They were the same faces I had seen before, haunting me. Flickering images ignited the remnants of my past, the joy of those carefree days now overshadowed by something sinister. I looked closer. Scrawled across the bottom of one frame were names: Lily, Jordan, Max. Each one felt like a weight on my chest, pulling me deeper into a well of anxiety. These were the kids from my childhood. I remembered their voices, their laughter, but there was an ache that I couldn't shake. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A shadow came over me, dark and thick. I spun around, and there it was again, the small figure. It seemed more defined now, with sorrowful eyes and a radiance that fought against the darkness. "Help us," it whispered, the words a haunting echo in the quiet space. I stepped back, inching toward the door, my instincts kicking in. "What happened to you?" I choked out, desperate for answers. "They took us away," it said, voice trembling. "You were supposed to stop them." Before I could reply, the ground beneath my feet started to tremble violently once more. The lanterns flickered, casting frantic shadows around the room. "Find the truth," the figure shouted, the urgency in its voice sending a chill down my spine. Something shifted in my memory again, a fragment of a warning. "There's a basement," I whispered to myself. I could almost feel its weight, hidden below. I dashed across the room, anxious to uncover what the depths held. As I reached the door leading down, panic surged through my veins. What awaited me in the darkness below? Would it be answers or a trap? As I grasped the handle, a cold wind rushed past me, slamming the door shut. I gasped, my heart racing anew. Then I heard footsteps, heavy and deliberate, coming from behind me. Someone was in the house. The realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. I was not alone, and this was only the beginning. I wrenched the door open, all but flinging myself down the narrow steps. Darkness enveloped me like a shroud, the air thick with the smell of mold and a dampness that made my skin crawl. I fumbled for the lantern perched at the edge of the first step, my fingers brushing against its cool surface. The muted glow flickered uncertainly, revealing walls lined with old, fading photographs. The faces once happy, now morphed into ghostly visages. I took a deep breath to calm my racing heart and focused on the task ahead. Whatever dwelled in the depths of this basement held the answers, or the threat, I needed to confront. Each step seemed to echo in the silence, each creak of the wooden stairs drawing me deeper into the past, while the echo of laughter still lingered at the fringes of my mind. The farther I descended, the more I felt a weight pressing on my chest, a sensation that tilted from dread to urgency. Once I reached the final step, the lantern illuminated what lay ahead, an expanse of dust-covered objects and clutter. Old boxes, broken toys, and more photographs scattered about, remnants of lives interrupted. My breath caught when I spotted a small, old trunk at the far wall, its latch rusted, yet somehow alluring. With tentative hands, I approached it. As I knelt beside the trunk, the laughter surged inside me again, pulling, tugging at threads of memory I had thought long muted. I unclasped the latch, and a wave of musty air whooshed out. Inside lay a collection of faded letters and notes, their edges yellowed with age. I pulled them out, one crumpled piece catching my eye. "To our friend Lucas," it read, in one of the children's handwriting, shaky yet brave. "We wait for you. Don't be scared. You have to help us before the shadows come back." My heart descended into my stomach. They were reaching out to me, longing for help. The phrase echoed through my mind, the shadows. I suddenly understood. Not all that I faced was simply a voice of childhood laughter. It was something darker, driven by anguish and silence. The laughter transformed, evident in the words, a sweet echo of danger lurking just outside my understanding. I discarded the note and rifled through the trunk further. Beneath the letters were more drawings, children playing in the woods, by the reservoir, laughter painted beneath the sun, but each drawing grew darker as they progressed. The final drawing featured tangled trees cloaked in shadows, and children huddled together, fear evident in their features, hands clasped like a prayer. My throat tightened. It was a warning. But there was no time for fear. I set to work. Each envelope I uncovered revealing stories of missing children, one after another, all connected to this place. "Show us," they pleaded. "Help us remember." I sensed the urgency in their cries growing more feverish. As I continued, a heavy sigh filled the space. Something outside the door. I froze. The heavy footfalls echoed again, this time louder, closer. Instinct took over. I had to move. I quickly shoved the notes back into the trunk, not bothering to close it, yearning to remember everything once I emerged. Something shuffled above, the doorknob rattling, causing my pulse to quicken. Immediately, I scanned the basement for an exit, a window, a crack, anything. But all I found were the shadows in the corners, growing larger. I grabbed the lantern, its light pushing back against the encroaching dark. "Help us!" The faint voices rang out again, clearer now, as if they were right behind me. My heart raced, but a path forward had illuminated in my mind, a path to the truth. To save them, I needed to confront whatever was on the other side of the door. In that determination, I found a grounding, a flicker of courage. I crept back to the door, lantern raised. The handle rattled again. "You won't take them!" I yelled, my voice echoing through the space. "I won't let you!" I pressed my ear against the door, listening intently. What responded was not a whisper, but a low growl, the sound grating and deep, sending a tremor through my bones. I jolted back, adrenaline surging through me as instinct kicked in. Without hesitation, I launched myself back into the room, making for the closet squeezed in the far corner. I wedged myself inside, shrouded in darkness, praying to remain unseen. My breath quickened as the door creaked open, casting a sliver of light into the room. A silhouette entered, a figure dark and tall, moving with a hate-filled purpose, hunched over as if it were searching for something or someone. It prowled the room, backlit by the weak lamp. I could hear its breath, a low rasp cutting through the silence. I clutched the lantern tightly, my pulse in sync with the shadows undulating around me. This was it. I had come to confront the truth. But what truth awaited me? Could I save those children? Would I become another lost memory? In the depths of the closet, the reality of the moment crystallized. I had to make a choice. Stay hidden and hope it passed, or break free from my sanctuary to confront whatever darkness had taken root here. I felt the pull of the children's laughter once more, a call to action, to not only save them, but to discover my connection to this haunting. Whatever haunted me would have to come face to face with the truth. With a deep breath, I pushed the closet door open, ready to confront the shadows that had plagued my thoughts and dared me to remember.